How's everyone doing? Yeah, I know that I am what's between the end of today and happy hour. So I'm gonna make sure that I leave you guys on a high note before you go network and have some drinks. Now, it is great to be back here in the city of brotherly love, of Philadelphia. My name is Carlos Gill, and I am here to teach you about where social media is headed. I'm here to teach you some different tactics and tips and tricks. Now, by a very quick show of hands, who in this audience saw or heard of the Shiggy Challenge over the last year? Okay, a lot of you probably either saw friends of yours jumping out of a moving vehicle doing this Shiggy Challenge on Instagram, or you probably did it yourself. Now, I had the opportunity just a couple of days ago to spend some time with Shiggy. He's a famous celebrity, internet creator, he's a comedian. And I interviewed him at the YouTube space in New York, and I said, you know what, Shiggy? I'm really fascinated by what you did with the Shiggy Challenge and the impact it had, not just on pop culture, but on Drake, because you helped Drake amass 250 million views on YouTube. You created a movement, and you effectively did something that most corporate brands, if not all corporate brands, are not able to do, and that's get people to move and take action. And you know how you did it? And he looked at me and said, no, Carlos, how did I do? I said, you were real. You got people to move. You created a movement. Because you see, my friends, there's a difference between a moment and a movement. What we as brand marketers and social media marketers have been conditioned to do for the last decade is create moments known as marketing. And the reality is this: moments expire. You're only as good as your last post, you're only as good as your last tweet. Movements, on the other hand, have elasticity. A year has gone by. There's people in a room that were a part of the movement. And that's a lot of what I'm gonna speak about here today, is how to humanize your brand in this age of social media and AI. And you see here on the screen a plug for my book called The End of Marketing. You can go to endofmarketingbook.com, and much of what I write about in my forthcoming book is just that, how you can rise above the digital noise. Now, before I jump into it, I want to challenge you on this. If there's anything that comes to mind, if you have any questions, tweet them out. If there's anything that I say here on stage, be sure to tweet out with the conference hashtag. So once again, we're here to talk about humanizing your brand. And what does that exactly mean? Well, think about it. Who in this room is on social media? Almost every single person. Is there a person in this room that is not on any form of social media, i.e. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter? Everyone. Congrats. We are all taking attention from one another. And in order to stand out in what I like to refer to this noisy digital ecosystem that we're in today, known as the internet or social media, you need to do something different. Gone are the days of just showing up, like when I worked at Winn-Dixie almost a decade ago running social media. Gone are the days of saying, hey, we've got Coca-Cola on sale, or we have Nikes on sale. Those days are over. So as you think through the content I'm about to share with you, start thinking through how can, as a company, we do a better job of engaging our employees, because employees are your greatest asset, and how can we do a better job engaging our customers? Which means, going forward, your objective is not how do I get more followers on Instagram? It's not how do I get more engagement? It's sell less, engage more. And that's you as a brand. Sell less, engage more. Can you repeat that? Sell less, engage more. Because let's face it, what has social media become over the last decade? It's become a pitch fest. Brands are taking to social media all day to pitch what they have on sale, what award they won, what's great. And as consumers, we're starting to be conditioned to turn off brands on social media. And the reality is that people are brands today. So what's new? What's changed over the last year? Well, first of all, the internet. The internet is in a digital pandemonium. And what do I mean by that? It's noisy. It's loud. Every single time we all tweet, we are taking market share away from one another. It's a lot harder to rise above that noise today because of the frequency that content is being distributed, because of the content creators that have become the new brands that people want to follow, because of 13-year-olds like my son that's here in the front audience. Wave Carlos to everyone. Because of my son who has a YouTube channel and it's on Instagram and wants to do all the things that he sees his heroes like Logan and Jake Paul doing. So what's happening is at a corporate level, we're not catching up with where the current is going. Now, this right here is a graph of the internet in a minute in 2019, which proves my point of just how noisy this digital ecosystem is. And I'm gonna share some stats with you in a moment that's gonna be mind-boggling. But look, don't focus on just activity that's happening on social media. Think about what people are doing on their phones every single minute of the day. They're swiping on Tinder, they're watching Netflix, they're shopping, they're on Twitch, they're going on Amazon. So social media consumption is just one part of a consumer's journey discovering your brand. Now, how many of you in the room here as professionals are on LinkedIn? Almost all of you, I would hope all of you. LinkedIn has over 120 professionals joining every single minute. And follow along as I share these stats with you, because what I want you to really encompass and take in your mind is at the growth of these social networks and the volume that's being pushed out every single minute, your objective becomes that much harder in order to stand out. You look at a platform like Twitter, you have almost 500,000 tweets being sent out every single minute. So if your brand is on Twitter and you're pushing out that tweet to sell your latest thing or promote your latest sale, unless you're activating your employee base to promote the hell out of your company, it is really difficult to stand out on Twitter. Then you look at a platform like Snapchat, which is primarily used by much younger audiences and demographics. You have over 500,000 photos being shared every single moment of the day. And then look, one of my favorite social networks is Instagram, where you have over 46,000 photos being shared per minute. And let's kind of address the elephant in the room. You have fake influence. You have fake influencers. You have people that are buying engagement. They have bots that are commenting on content. Like, this is real. This is reality in almost the year 2020. So once again, your job as a marketer isn't just to show up and create a moment, but it's actually to participate in the conversations that are already happening. Think about this for a moment. Social media at the core, what it really is a search engine. You can leverage Instagram to see what people are saying about your brand. You can leverage Twitter in real time to type in any keyword, any phrase, and engage with people. The key word in social media is social. So why are so many brands missing out on the opportunity that they have in front of them instead of focusing on their objective, which is the sale? Let me tell you about YouTube. If your brand is not investing in creating content on YouTube, if there's a single social network that had to bet the entire career that I've built in this industry on being a part of, it would be YouTube. And why is that? Because YouTube is backed by Google. YouTube's the second most visited and searched site on the internet. YouTube works as a search engine for video content. So regardless of what sort of company you have, every company in this room can teach what they do. Every company in this auditorium right now should look to have videos on YouTube that lead in with how to or end with tips. If you're an insurance company, how to buy insurance. Insurance buying tips. And you see where I'm going with this. Now, let's talk about the algorithms for a moment. Facebook organic reach, it's dead. Facebook today has become a pay-to-play platform. And I want to ask all of you this question. Please be very, very honest with me. Who woke up this morning, grabbed their iPhone, and went to Facebook to see what their favorite brand of all time posted? Anyone? Not a single person? Look, there's crickets. You're hungover from, where was my invitation to the party? The reality is this, and look, this is real talk, because we're all colleagues in this industry. We don't eat our own dog food. And I say that with all the love in the world, because as a marketer, I don't like marketing content. I don't go on social media to be sold to. So when I work with clients through my own company or when I do events like this, the message that I hope the audience walks away with is that the greatest opportunity that social media gives you is access to data, access to real people. It's not posting, it's not running ads. On the contrary, it's the opportunity that you have to listen. Now, this is the reality of Facebook today. This is your audience right here that you're gonna see on the screen in a minute. Facebook has evolved, it's grown up. It's a little bit older of a demographic on there. You've got mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, they're on Facebook, but this is the key stat. Less than 1% of your Facebook audience that you've acquired and built up over the years is seeing your content at any given moment. What does that say to me? That if I want to stand out on Facebook, I need to think outside of the box. I need to create content that's pulling people in versus pushing content out at them. So I say this all the time to marketers, don't be mad at Facebook that you suck at marketing. Instead, understand the rules of the game, because the rules of the game, and this is really important, you're gonna wanna write this down, are one, content that keeps your audience on Facebook will be rewarded. So if you're struggling figuring out how to get engagement on Facebook, it's probably because of a couple of factors. One, you're overtly to your audience, meaning you're pushing out content to them that's driving them back to your website, back to your blog, back to a YouTube video, and that is deprioritizing your content through the Facebook algorithm. So going forward, leverage Facebook as an extension of your website, where if you have a video to upload, you upload it natively within Facebook. If you have a blog post, you write on Facebook Notes. You write content that's conversational and not promotional in nature. And what I mean by that is start asking more questions. Ask more open-ended questions from your audience. Now, I talked before about humanization of content, humanization of people. In this new era that we are entering in, faces, people, those are the new brands. Shiggy, every content creator that exists, every musician that has a presence on social media, all of you in this room, myself included, we are all brands. And with that being said, corporate brands don't rule marketing anymore. They really don't. Like, look at your own, audit yourself. Look at your own Instagram, look at your own Facebook. Look at the content that you're pushing and ask yourself, would I really buy from my own company if I didn't work here? Or am I just trying to check off a box because I'm trying to pacify a brand client or an agency or a boss to have content going out every single day? And then look at what people are posting. And you're gonna see a big disparity between fun, engaging social posts that creators and people are putting out, and then what brands put out, again, typically is promotional in nature. Now, as we move forward, and it looks like we have a little technical difficulty in the back, which is really embarrassing when you're talking to an audience of people. Here's the thing about marketing today. If you want to have an opportunity to win at this game, you have to play by the house rules. All these social networks are casinos. All these social networks are designed and engineered at the end of the day to make money off the data that they sell, and that's user data. Before I show you DJ Khaled, I want to explain this to you. I spent years working in corporate brand marketing. I had an opportunity to work at LinkedIn as an employee. I've been inside of Facebook. And what I'll say this is these social networks, while we know them as social networks, what they really are digital advertising platforms. They're collecting data, and then they're selling that data back off to you as advertisers. So I'll give you an example. I was with a client recently that said, you know what, Carlos, we have over 30 million likes on Facebook, but we get less than 30 people liking our content. What's wrong? And I said, the reality is that you don't have 30 million people that like you on Facebook. You have less than 1% of that. Because less than 1% of that audience are actually seeing your content. And then within that fraction, you even have a smaller percentage that are actively engaging with your content. So don't focus on the big numbers anymore. Recently, Facebook through Instagram announced that they were going to be removing public-facing likes from their posts. And from my perspective, that's the best thing that can happen to this entire industry, because we're conditioned to rank our success and predicate success based on vanity metrics. At the end of the day, what we should be predicating our success on is the bottom line that we're driving to our organization. And it's not just ROI in dollars and cents, it's actually in human capital. It's in people that are promoting our brand when they're out at a store. It's people that are willingly speaking about your brand to their friends without you having to pay for it. So as we talk about humanization, I'm gonna share with you an example from a great philosopher by the name of DJ Khaled. He's a hip hop artist and producer. He's also from my hometown, Miami, Florida. And DJ Khaled, first of all, by show of hands, is everyone here in the room for the most part familiar with DJ Khaled? Yes? Cool. Awesome. I was doing this same talk in Salt Lake City and no hands went up, and it completely killed the vibe of the talk. But with that being said, I'm gonna share with you just a very small snippet of DJ Khaled, because I want you to see how DJ Khaled does something really, really well. All right, see?
Director calls for big applause. We go berserk, all right?
That son find me. Everywhere I go, that son find me.
So, what DJ Khaled does really well, to a T, is he's human. He's a celebrity, but he's real and relatable. And he takes his community behind the scenes every single day to give them an inner glimpse of what he's doing, where he's at, and who he's with. Think about when was the last time that you just gave an iPhone with control to your Instagram account to an employee. It doesn't happen without having to go through multiple layers of management, including HR. Typically, you have to have a policy in place for social media, and that becomes a roadblock, that becomes a hindrance. What people really want to see is the ethos of your company at the core. What makes you real and relatable? What makes you human? So staying on DJ Khaled, brands have taken notice. DJ Khaled gets more engagement and more views on social media than the Kardashians do. So you have brands like Silk that are partnering with this girthy gentleman to teach you how to live a healthier life. You have brands like Palmer's Cocoa Butter that are partnering with DJ Khaled so he can help you have healthier skin. You have brands like TurboTax that are partnering with DJ Khaled so he can teach you how to do your taxes. And then you have brands like Ciroc that are partnering with DJ Khaled so he can influence you on what to drink after you do your taxes. So if you see where I'm going with this, the new celebrity brand is the celebrity, but guess what? You all have celebrities within your own organizations, and that's your employees, that's your CEO, that's your C-suite, and the biggest celebrities that you have are people. These shoes, I'm gonna share with you an example. These shoes that I'm wearing here on stage right now are from a brand called Greats. Last week, I was back home in Los Angeles at an event. I took a photo, and I tagged Greats on Instagram. And yesterday, while I'm in New York, I'm in my Uber, and I see that I get tagged on Instagram stories. And I see who tagged me, and it was actually the owner and founder of Greats. We immediately formed a bond. I immediately shared with him 4 or 5 photos from my Instagram account for him to see how much of a fan I am of his company. He gave me his cell phone number. We started texting back and forth. Now granted, at a larger scale, you can't do that with everyone, but at least acknowledging and having conversations, you can do that. You see here the proof is in the pudding. Weight Watchers teamed up with DJ Khaled. Their stock rose by 8% on one single day. So going back to this notion of being human, this needs to be your focus going forward. When you go back to your offices, really evaluate your entire social media strategy and start auditing yourself. Start auditing the ROI of social media, because I tell you, it's really hard to keep up. Most social teams, at the majority of companies that I speak with, are somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 2 to 3 people, sometimes 4 max if it's a really big company. So the first thing that you need to do when you leave here is audit your channels and really identify, is Twitter driving ROI for you? Is Facebook driving ROI for you? What's the purpose of having a YouTube account? What's the purpose of being on Snapchat? If a platform is not driving ROI for you, you need to really consider deleting them. The conversations I've been having lately with brands is centered around start using social media more so to target customers, leverage your own CRM data, leverage the ads platforms within these social networks, and just run ads as opposed to investing money and creating content that's falling on deaf ears. Now, moving forward, do you have to post daily? Absolutely not. So I get asked this question often. And what I'll say to you is if you're gonna show up and post quality content. You don't need to post every single day in order to be relevant. But you should aim that when you show up, your post is engineered or structured in a way that's gonna get people to talk. You're gonna ask questions. You're gonna sell less. You're not gonna link people back to your website. Now, keep in mind that conversation is content also. You don't always have to show up with a nice fancy graphic or video in order to create content. Creating content also happens in the form of conversation. I'll give you an example. Go to your Facebook page, whether now or after you leave this conference, and look at the reviews section of your Facebook page. Are you responding to reviews in a timely fashion? Go on Yelp if you're in retail and see what people are saying about your brand. Are you responding to them? Look at every single touch point where someone could possibly be mentioning your company. Quora is another untapped social network. Reddit is an untapped social network. Look in all these mediums and see where people are mentioning your brand and converse with them. And I'll give you another one. And this is kind of a growth hack, so you'll want to write this down. Go on Instagram and type in hashtag your company name. Because here's what happens with social listening. Most of the time, brands do an okay job when someone mentions their brand. They get notified, they get pinged. Most companies are not taking the time to see who's mentioning hashtag their company name on Instagram or hashtag their company name on Twitter. The more conversations that you jump into, those are at-bats, those are reps, those are opportunities for you to build a loyal community. Now, knowing the algorithms is extremely, extremely important because, like I said before, you're competing against a casino, and the reality is the house always wins. So you're never gonna beat the house at their own game. So instead of saying, you know what, Facebook's making it really hard to market, Zuckerberg's making it impossible for me to get any engagement, get used to it. Instead, understand how these algorithms work. And the biggest key that I can give you is, once again, I said this before, original content is what wins. Going back to YouTube, if you really wanna know how to get your videos to rank high on YouTube search, create what's known as anchor videos. These are videos that are teaching someone a specific task, a specific skill set, and people are coming in to view that video, and then what they're gonna do is after they watch that video, they're gonna see all the other suggested videos that YouTube offers them. YouTube incentivizes you for that activity. Facebook, same thing. If you have content on Facebook that's bringing people in and keeping them around, the social networks will incentivize you. And why is that? Because they themselves are incentivized to keep users on the platform, because the longer a user's on a social network, the more ads they can show to that user. Now, this is what you want to do immediately when you leave here. And that's, once again, stop selling and start engaging. Make it a goal, make it a priority that every single day you spend at least an hour to 2 hours seeing what's being said about my company. And not just what's being said about my company, but what's being said about my competition. What's being said about my industry? Because someone might not be necessarily mentioning your company, but guess what? They could be mentioning your direct competitor. And I often say social media is the wild, wild west. There's no laws, there's no rules that say that you cannot engage with followers or customers of one of your direct competitors. You know, we did this exercise a lot when I used to run social media at Winn-Dixie in 2012, 2013. Down in Jacksonville, Florida, where we would run searches in Sprinkler for Winn-Dixie and Publix. And we would provide our CMO report all the time, and we'd show her, like, look, these are people who are mentioning both of our brands, good, bad, or indifferent, and they're not tagging either one. Can we jump in? And she would always say, well, we don't want to notify, we don't want to poke the bear and alert Publix and have them see that we're engaging in a thread. In 2020, if you really want to stand out, I'm going to just say this, you have to be savage as fuck. You can't care that you are going to offend your competition, because guess what they are doing? They are running Facebook ads targeting your page. So if you want to get one up on them, let them spend all their money, and then what you do is you go to their ads that they're running targeting your customers, and you comment on their ads. Think about that. Now, having a theme is extremely, extremely important. So let's not disregard the role that content plays on social media. On the screen, you see two gentlemen. One's Drake and one's myself. Now, ask yourself, are you educational or are you entertaining? Most brands, by design, are not meant to be entertaining brands. But every single brand is capable of educating their audience online in terms of what they do. Now, moving forward, the key moving forward is not to think like a marketer, but think more like a customer. You know, I asked you that question before in terms of who's going to social media or who's going to Facebook to see what their favorite brand of all time posted for a reason. And I like asking that question up front because I get to see like, all right, if you guys as marketers aren't going to social media to see what your favorite brand posted, how do you expect your customers to? It's just common sense. So when you think like a customer, when you think like a fan, what you're doing is, psychologically speaking, you're asking yourself, would this resonate with me if I didn't work at this organization? Because community is king. For every marketer over the years that has said content is king, I cringe. Because without community, you have nothing. All you have is noise. All you have is technology. So I'm less interested as a marketer in today's day and age to show up every single hour with posts that are scheduled in Hootsuite or in Sprout. And I'm more interested in using these tools that we all have access to scour social media to see what's being said. And it happens one customer at a time. I wish I could tell you that there's a bot that exists that's going to scour all these social networks and help you build all these fans. It doesn't exist. If you truly want to build community, you need to listen, you need to be empathetic, and you need to care. You need to respond to customers first when they engage with your brand, they mention your brand. And that's not just @replies, that's hashtags. When you guys mess up, acknowledge that. When someone leaves a bad review, acknowledge that. Because you can win fans over, but once you lose someone, they're gone. So going back to listening to what's being said about your competition, here are some tips to help you out. And you might want to write these down. First of all, it goes back to being a digital savage. And I'm going to share an example with you here of a brand that gracefully is a digital savage. But that's paying attention to what's being said about your company, your competition, and your industry. It's reading and replying to reviews, and it's also searching Instagram for mentions. Now, here's an example of a company I absolutely love, and that's Wendy's. Wendy's is savage as fuck. Just want to throw it out there. When IHOP decided to rebrand from International House of Pancakes to International House of Burgers, oh my goodness. Wendy's just had a field day. They tweeted out, can't wait to try a burger from the place that decided pancakes were too hard. Ouch. That really burns. And if you look at Wendy's strategy on social media, they take the DJ Khaled approach, where they have personality. And this is where the current I want you to see is going. Social media is not getting any younger. What is happening is that social media is evolving. And people have woken up and realized behind every Wendy's logo, behind every Nike swoosh, behind every single logo, there's a person that's running their social media accounts. Who are they? Who are those individuals? Because I tell you what, going forward, when the end of marketing occurs, your only lifeline on all these mediums will be a face. When AI enters the market and people now are speaking with a computer and they're not speaking with a human, your competitive advantage will be this. And it'll be speaking. It'll be forming a relationship with a customer, because guess what? AI can't do that for you. So I'm going to leave you on this note. What social media is today is rented land. Your objective going forward needs to be twofold. How do I future-proof my business? And how do I future-proof my career? Future-proofing your business is easier, because when you future-proof your business, you're collecting data. You're doing exactly what these social networks are doing already, which is taking our data. Guess what? You're just going to the casino, throwing a few chips on the table, and you're getting data right back. Whether it's email addresses, phone numbers for SMS marketing, you're actually taking control. Now you have your own data that you can market to. And the second part of future-proofing your career is actually having a personal brand of your own. So if you guys have any questions, I encourage you, first of all, reach out to me on social media. You can find me at CarlosGill83. I'm also going to be in the back of the room. And be sure to go to endofmarketingbook.com. Thank you so much, Philly.